guys, the book I will be reviewing today is called The Underneath by Kathy Appold, published in 2008. And this was quite an interesting read for me. I read it probably just over 2 years ago, at the recommendation of my younger sister, Carly. She claimed it was her favorite book, and I just had to read it. So I did, and I quite enjoyed it. This book has many achievements to show for its excellence. Newbery Honor Book Award, National Book Finalist, Amazon.com #1 book of the year, etc., etc. So I'd say generally it's a pretty well-loved book. People seem to really like it. But in spite of that, when I started it, I must admit I did not have high hopes. I thought it was going to be a cheesy, sappy book about cats and dogs becoming friends, but it turned out to be so much more than that. So let's get into it. The main characters are animals, so if you're a fan of animal personification, this could be a good fit for you. The book starts out and casts a bleak picture. You can practically feel the cold dampness of that first night. We start in with a cat, a very pregnant cat at that, and she's lost and cold and just generally in need of a home and a family. So she stumbles upon this much abused dog living outside underneath the house of the evil man Garface. That's his name. Who is technically the owner of the dog, although he does absolutely nothing for this poor creature. So abused. It's so sad. So the story becomes about this mother cat, her kittens, and this dog who all live together in terror of this horrible man. And the man becomes an interesting character in and of himself as well, so that's something cool. But in addition to this storyline, the author, she weaves in this Native American legend type story, switching between present day story of the cats and dog, and this more ancient folklore type story, and weaves them together really interestingly. And this makes for a book with a lot of depth. It's a very multifaceted read, which is interesting and not generally the type of thing you'd expect to find in a book about cats and dogs. But there it is, nonetheless. We get introduced to a serpent who was wronged long ago and who's trapped waiting for revenge. So in one book, you get the surface level story of cats and dogs trying to stay alive in a perilous situation. But you also get the story of this folklore from long ago. It's really interesting. And then in addition to all that, the book is framed by the imagery and description used to depict the nature in the book. There are points where the cats are lost in the woods and you truly feel like you could be lost in the woods with them. Like, the imagery is quite something. And if that wasn't good enough, there are drawings done by David Small, which add to the sort of engulfing feeling of the book. You feel like you're totally sucked into the book. So whether you like the myth part or the animal adventures, there's lots to choose from. Practically anybody could read the book and enjoy it because there's so much to it. And I gave this book 4.5 stars out of 5, since I thought the writing style matched really well with the story, and that she did a wonderful job of weaving the two storylines, the ancient and the present day, together. An altogether enjoyable read and suitable for almost everyone. And I'll just read to you this passage. Here's the book here, in case you were wanting to see it. There it is, The Underneath. I'll try and find a drawing for you as well afterwards. I just wanted to read this passage so you could get an idea of sort of what the writing style was like. And this is when one of the kittens, Puck, has just discovered the moon. Most cats would recognize the moon for what it was, but this cat, Puck, had never been outside at night when the moon began its own cyclical pattern. Anyways, always, when the night rolled in, Puck had either been underneath the tilting house or curled up in his little lair. The silver light peeking into Puck's door was inviting. Usually there was no comfort and surprise, but this was a different kind of light, different from the yellow light of the sun, seemed to beckon him. And he realized he wasn't afraid at all. He stood up and stretched and walked outside. There he caught his breath. All around the forest glittered with a silvery cast. Puck looked up. Through the branches of the trees he could see the pale beginnings of a new moon in the shape of a crescent. If he could have seen his own reflection, he would have noticed that the small patch of white fur on his forehead was glowing. So there you go. It's just it's a fairly short read. The chapters are very short, so it's really good for sort of interval reading if you like to just read short little bits at a time. Great family read. You can read it to your kids before bed. And yeah, check it out. The Underneath by Kathy Appold. And let me know in the comments whether you liked the book, if you read it, if you're intrigued in reading it. I'd love to hear from you. Thanks.